Welcome to Iron Sights. This podcast candidly seeks to create opportunities and deliver impact by sharing the experiences and wisdom of successful entrepreneurs and thought leaders who unapologetically aim to win in health, fitness, business, and life. I'm your host, Scott Howell. Welcome to Old School Meets New School. Tradition meets innovation, and imperfection meets excellence. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. Well, here we are.
Here we are.
Just want to welcome Camile Periat down to the studio today, and thank you very much for coming in and spending time with me.
Thank you for having me.
Camile is a 6-time IFBB Bikini Pro champion, a 2-time Olympian and Arnold Classic competitor, co-owner Santa Cruz Power Fitness, host of the Bikini Show podcast, mom extraordinaire, and basically a badass boss lady. That's pretty much my take on her. Look, Camile, I mean, we've known one another for a little bit, but not forever. I wanted to dig in a little bit and talk about a few things, but just going back, you've got a very impressive bio when it comes
Resume.
in terms of the sport of bodybuilding and sort of the business of fitness, and hopefully we can get into that a little bit more, but I want to know how you do it all. I mean, how have you been doing it all for as long as you've been doing it?
I'm crazy.
I think you might be a little bit insane. Yeah.
You have to be a little insane to do that.
Yeah. I think the crazy part about it is as insane as you may be, and I've never known you to be like that, but is the even keel that you keep the whole time. Like you never get too high, never get too low. I mean, and again, we'll talk about the business end of things maybe in this last year and how crazy it's been, but wow. I mean, you're always so positive. Where does that come from?
Well, maybe my upbringing, good parents. I think in order to do, well, you know this, it's all about balance, balancing family, balancing business, balancing career, hobbies. So it's about finding the right amount of energy to put into each one. Now, when I say crazy, I'm not mentally crazy, but you have to be kind of like able to juggle a lot and function at a high pace. And I'm the type of person that I am more efficient when I have a lot on my plate. When I don't have a whole lot going on, I start to get kind of lazy.
So you mentioned something there about, your parents and your upbringing. The attitude, the drive, was it always there? Is it something you always had? Has it sort of been around? Or did you have to develop that?
So growing up, my parents, they were not into sports at all. But I was the one that was like, I want to play Little League with the boys. And I was like enrolling myself into these, all these different sports. My parents were like, all right, if you want to do it, you can do it. But that was all me. So I've always kind of had that competitive edge. But my parents were just really supportive parents, preached the importance of going to college and just a good home base.
So not a ton of influence there in terms of being active in sports and whatnot, just more, hey, if that's what you want to do, we're going to show up to the games, we're going to be there for you, whatever you want, Camile. Can you remember back to when it kind of started for you? Like, when was it where you out there watching the boys playing, like, you know what, I want to do that?
I don't even know what it was, actually, that made me want to do that. And I sucked. I was like, I don't even know why I did it. Thinking back on it, I was like 10. The only girl on the team. Actually, there was another girl who was really good. I sucked, and I was just in left field picking daisies, but I just liked to be playing. It was fun. And just being a part of a sport and a team. So I played sports throughout elementary school. Didn't play in high school, but then in college, I just swam for the college I went to. But always involved with sports and playing on different teams.
So let's just take a step back before college. So you're in high school, you're not playing any sports?
No. Okay.
And so the drive, though, and kind of the motivation to compete and be competitive, did you have that for academics?
No.
So how did you keep yourself busy?
I had fun. I was a social girl.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
In high school, I liked the social scene better. So I didn't play sports. Okay. I wasn't a bad teenager. I wasn't caught up in the wrong crowd, but I would cut class with my best friend. We would go, what we would do, most people think, oh, you're going to cut class and high school, you might be doing something bad. We would go to McDonald's, get ice cream and french fries, go to the beach and just make bird dialogue. We would watch the birds at the beach and make dialogue. That's the kind of stuff that we would do.
So you see two birds kind of hopping along, and one's the voice of bird one, and one's the voice. Oh my God.
So I just did kind of like fun stuff like that. But I did go to college. My parents were very serious about,
Yeah, you mentioned that, yeah.
You have to go to, like, that was like not an option. You have to go to college. So I did. And I'm very grateful that they had that drive because I'm not a very academic type person.
All right. So you get into college. And so was there a decision? Did you know, like, well, not necessarily a place I want to be, but it was something that I know I need to do. And you got to make a decision about what you're studying and whatnot. So what'd you do? What'd you study?
I probably changed my career choice like 6 different times. I wanted to be a psychologist, failed psychology classes. Like, okay, maybe I shouldn't do that.
Check.
Yeah. There was many different things that I was like trying to get into. And then one day I was just thinking, I always enjoyed going to the dentist. I was kind of a weird kid
It's official. You're definitely a crazy person. Yeah.
I liked going to the dentist. So I was like, my hygienist always seemed like so nice and always just like, she liked her job and I loved getting my teeth clean. So I decided to study dental hygiene and I got a job working at a dental office. No experience, but I started as like a front desk and then kind of did some dental assisting. Before that, I did bartending. For like 6 years, I was a waitress and bartender, and I got into dentistry. And then I went through dental hygiene school, but that really was a big pivot in my life because I was kind of like a typical lost young college kid, just like trying to figure out what do I want to do. And I wanted to find a career that I could make an income. It wasn't just finding, what I have fun doing. I wanted to actually make an income doing it. So I picked dental hygiene.
That's interesting. So I have a similar story. You find your way in the bar business, which means you sort of always have some cash in your pocket, which gives you freedoms and flexibilities and allows you to kind of do some things that maybe some of your other college buddies aren't. It also gives you some insight to, life and people in a little bit of a different way. You're at the party, but not necessarily partying, and you get to kind of see some things. You mentioned swimming in college. So where is this fitting in? How are you balancing that with bartending at night? Maybe, or you're not doing that in college yet?
No, I was. So I was doing that. I worked throughout college. My parents helped a little bit, but they helped as much as they could afford. But I still had to work weekends, maybe 2 nights a week as well. So I would be working around my swim schedule. We met like at 6 a.m. for morning practice, and then after school, one of my electives also. So I just worked it around my schedule.
So I don't want to make any assumptions here. I'm assuming though that this is competitive swim team. Right? It's not just like a club swim where you're just showing up to work out.
Right. It was junior college, so it wasn't like I was on like a state university team, but we would travel around to like different colleges around Santa Cruz, downtown, like as far as Bay Area, and then like as far as San Luis Obispo.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
we've skipped ahead here on the sports stuff because you weren't swimming in high school.
No.
Where did the swimming come in? You just said, hey, I'm going to try out for swim team when I get to college? Or
So my girlfriend, who I talked about that we would go to the beach and do like bird dialogue, we both moved to Santa Cruz for college. I'm from Half Moon Bay, and we both moved to Santa Cruz for college. And she was on the water polo team, and I was just like party. I was the party girl. My first year in college, I was like, this is amazing. I was a party girl, but I would go to her practice and I would lay out on the pool deck while she was doing water polo practice for college. And there were some really cute guys in the water polo team there.
Don't say.
So that's how I got into the swimming team.
So the motivation is?
No swimming background, but I'm like, I will sign up for the swimming team. I got most improved.
This sounds like something my buddies and I would do. Like, this is great. Yeah, this is where we need to be all day long, right?
Totally.
Right? So you start swimming. I assume you knew how to swim before that, or so you're out there. Are you competitive? I mean, let's be honest. Are we winning? Are you winning?
I can't even remember if I won, but
Didn't matter. You guys.
I did get most improved, so I did get better.
Winning. Yeah.
I didn't come in last, but I would do like the 100, the short sprints.
Right. So you're just enjoying being out there.
Yeah.
Right? And you're trying to balance it all.
Yeah.
Just like when you were a little kid on the baseball field with the boys.
Yeah, but when I was younger, I also played volleyball, basketball, and different sports. But the swimming really helped. Like, I took a long time off of being like active in sports. I was kind of like, I didn't do anything really for physical activity. So joining the swim team really kind of just like was like, wow, like this is exercise. Like going through the whole process. So then after that, it was like I developed this like passion for fitness again.
So we get through college, right? You're a dental hygienist now. You get a job. Swim's over. We're going to talk about, the business of dental hygiene and being in the dentist's office all day, but no more swim team. Is there a pivot point, or is there a point where you're like, I'm a little lost here, I need to do something? Or did you get right into the gym? Tell us about that.
I always worked out. After swim team, I always worked out, but I did a lot of cardio. I was I was afraid of weight training because like most women think they're going to get bulky. We're going to put on too much muscle and we're going to look like a man. So I had the mindset of like, I'm going to, work off the calories that I'm about to consume later. So that's why I would go to the gym. And I trained that way for probably about 10 years. More focused on cardio. Once in a while, I might do some ab workout, or I might lift a dumbbell, but it was all cardio. And not until I was about 30 when I had my daughter Lola. So we are skipping kind of forward, but I was a dental hygienist for about 9 years. And when I had my daughter Lola, I was like, I want to start to change the way I view my body, the way I view food, develop a healthier relationship with fitness and eating. So I started to work with a personal trainer who actually the studio was very similar to your studio. It was called Rockies in Santa Cruz. Her name was Susan, and she was badass. Like, she had a YouTube channel, and she was like this, like, just, she would work out at my gym sometimes. I'm just like, whoa, like she had abs and just like looked incredible. So I started working out with her, and I realized that I loved weight training. And rather than focusing on just burning calories and putting time into the gym, I was amazed on the feeling I got from it. And I also started to notice like, wow, I'm actually seeing changes I've been trying to get for so long that I haven't. And I actually am seeing that now. I'm starting to see some definition. I was feeling way more confident with my body, whereas before I was very self-conscious. So that was a huge pivot for me in my fitness career.
How long are you doing this before you start competing? Because it couldn't have been too long after. So nice segue.
Yeah. I started to work out with Susan, and I was working out with her for about 8 months. And my ex-husband at the time was like, maybe you should like think about getting doing a bikini competition. And I was just like, I have no idea what that is. And I saw pictures, and it was like, whoa, like those girls are like there's no way I could ever look like that. Or be on a stage in a bikini, like, no. And I was, working out in the gym early in the morning one day. It was like 6 in the morning before work. And I was just like, that sounds so scary to me. Like, I want to do it. I want to like challenge myself. So this was back in 2013.
So we're at a time where bikini is
new.
Brand new. I mean, we're just talking about the sort of the transition. There's bodybuilding, women's bodybuilding, which is a completely other type of sport. So for those who don't know, maybe you can kind of go through real quick kind of what the delineations are there and what they were then. We can talk about what they are now later.
Yeah. So for women, we had different divisions. Basically, they're designed to help, whatever your natural body type is, you can compete in that division. Well, they had women's bodybuilding, then they had fitness, they had figure. So it kind of starts to go down in structure. And they came out with the bikini division, I think in 2010, but it was still really new. There wasn't a lot of, it was a new sport. It was a new division.
It's like Hawaiian Tropic before that, right? That's what it is.
It was like totally, and there was no social media. I mean, Instagram was just coming out, so like the way you would learn about the sport was through magazines, Muscular Development, Fitness RX. Like those are the magazines that I would read to kind of like see these. Who are the
competitors? Athletes. How are they working out? What are they eating? What supplements are they taking? All that stuff.
Yeah. So. I decided I was going to do a competition. I called the producers of the show I found on the internet, and it's funny now. It was Steve O'Brien, who's like our Northern California chairman, who is now a really good friend of mine. And I called on my lunch break when I was doing hygiene. I was like, I'm going to be registering for your show. And I just want to make sure that I'm not going to be registering for the pro division because this is my first one. And he's like, no, you can't. You're fine. You won't be going on stage with the pros. Girl. Yeah. So I decided to do a show, but back then it was really hard to find a coach. There wasn't a whole lot of coaches. And I think there was like maybe Body Bio in Southern California. That was about it at the time.
So are these going to the coaches real quick? So are these male coaches coaching females? Are they female coaches coaching males females? What do we got
at the time? It was probably majority male coaches, but there wasn't there was coaches in Florida. There was Body Bio, who's a male coach in Southern California, but there wasn't a whole lot of coaches, and it was really hard to find out how to find them. Like, we didn't have really Instagram. It wasn't just like boom in your face like it is now. So I coached myself. I just did a lot of research online and did my own workouts and did my own diet and did my first show. Now, I got third place my first show, and I got off stage and I loved it. I was just like, oh my God, that was like, I had this adrenaline high for like 2 weeks, no joke. But looking back on it, like the week before my show, like, you know how like you've heard people talk about, and you've done competitions, so like we have like peak week and all this different structure. I was eating turkey jerky the day before because that was my protein source, loaded with sodium, like chewing gum like before a stage, like things I wouldn't do now.
Right, but each time you learn a little something new, and then you pick up something new, and there's the journey that you're going through right now. And
right.
I think anybody that's been at the level that you're at has gone through that at some point and would have the same kind of story.
Right.
Something silly. Yeah, something silly.
But the first time was just an awesome experience. I absolutely loved it, and I was hooked. So then after that was 2013 that I did my first show. And after that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do another one. And I think by then I was, at my first show, I was able to meet other competitors and ask around for coaches. Mm-hmm. So I found my first coach, and I did my second show, the San Jose Championship in 2013.
Big show.
And that show, there were bigger then too. Like they're a little bit smaller now, but there was like...
They weren't as spread out, right? I mean, there's a higher volume of shows these days than there used to be, right? Regionally.
There was like 1,200 competitors.
It's massive.
I won, and I got overall.
Killing it.
It was crazy. And so then I was just like, wow, like... Wow.
This is fun.
Winning
is
cool.
fun, right?
And my coach was like, okay, you just got the overall, like you're ready for nationals. And this was like 2 weeks before the USA's. Okay. And I had no idea what that meant. And I was just like, I don't know what that means. I'm just going to do another local show. And she's like, you got overall. You can't just
you can't be competing novice or,
right.
Whatever. You're pro now.
So she convinced me to do the USA's 3 weeks later. And I did. And I won my pro card. I won my class. So I got my pro card on my third show. and I thought I was like the shit.
Well, you're making this sound really easy. It sounds like you were the shit.
It seemed really easy to me, and I was just like, wow, well, that was easy. So, yeah, then I got my ass handed to me.
Yeah, so before we go there, like, again, going back to kind of where I was starting with this, it's just kind of the even keel, easy going through the process. And again, you're surprising yourself, right, as you're going along. You're kind of like, oh my God, I just won.
Yeah.
But at the same time, how are you balancing this in life? Is it stressing you out? Is the training stressing you out? Are you getting nervous going into these things? What are you having to adjust or adapt to from one show to the next? Because there's a lot of learning happening, and you're making this sound easy, right? And you just said it kind of was, but look, this is not an easy thing to do. I mean, you are dialing in your workouts, you are dialing in your nutrition. There is, you're dedicating 3-4 hours minimally a day just to being in the gym, doing the things that you're doing. What's happening in life at that time, and how are you balancing all of that?
Well, during that time, I was very just like taken in by the sport, and really, I had a tunnel vision, and I had a tunnel vision throughout my competing career, and you kind of have to if you want to be successful. But at that point, my daughter was 2 years old, and I was married. My ex-husband and I met when we were like both 19 years old. So we were, met in college. But because I was so focused on me and my sport, it did cause some, turmoil at home. And my husband and I divorced after that. Yeah.
Being an athlete is very, in a sense, it's very selfish. There's a lot of things that have to go into it.
Yeah.
Long hours of training, long hours of prep. You're spending a lot of time with other people, for that matter, in the gym, and having conversations on the phone or internet with coaches and things like that. And it's just, especially in the sport of bodybuilding, I mean, while there are seasons for shows, you're never really in an off season. You're always focused if you're competing at the level you're at. It's not like, oh, this comes around one time per year or every few years, like the Olympics or something like that. This is an ongoing process if you really want to compete.
Right.
And if you're not ready to make that commitment, if you're not fully committed the way you're saying, or the way where you're kind of telling the story here, you're not going to be successful. So
yeah, and I had gained so much self-confidence from competing, and I really felt like I had found who I was. Before that, I really did have a lot of self-esteem issues, and I was depressed. Like, I didn't have anything that I really enjoyed for myself, and so this really was just like, it was like a life. Like, it was an amazing feeling. And I totally understand the reasoning why my ex-husband at the time didn't, got kind of just like, okay, like, enough is enough of the sport, and that really just didn't, like, I had a hard time accepting that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you decided.
Yeah.
It's interesting too at this point in your life, because a lot of folks, a lot of people getting into it. I mean, my first shows and I dabbled, early on. I was 22, 23, 24 years old. I didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground at that point in my life. Yeah. I didn't have responsibilities. I didn't have liabilities like that.
Yeah.
And so it was really easy to, kind of separate from anything, because there wasn't a lot to separate from at that point, and you just stay focused. But you're talking, 10 years past that point, or at least the point that I was at. There's a lot going on. And it's interesting that you sort of found it that late in life, but what an awesome thing to discover. At that point, and when I say you're in 30s, right? It's not like you're old.
I was 33.
Right, you're beyond where most are. But what an awesome thing to discover in that pivot or that shift that you're now making, kind of like just accelerates into all this great stuff that you've been able to accomplish and experience, and the relationships that you built and all those kind of things, which is incredible. So you go on to compete in the nationals, and you got your ass handed to you. Well, talk about that. What was that like after having so much success and having a lot of fun, right? Making the commitment, having a lot of fun to like, oh shit, now this is the big time.
So it wasn't nationals that I got my ass handed to. It was my pro debuts and my I feel like you put in time as a competitor. You put in time either as a rookie or as a pro. And I got my pro card really, really quickly, and I was still very green, and so I still needed to learn posing, and there was so many things that I needed to improve upon. I did my first pro show literally like the week later, and I remember going up to girls that I like idolized in like magazines and stuff, and
fangirling.
I went up to them in the hotel room, and I was like, I'm a pro, I'm one of them now.
Right.
And I was like, I'm like, hi, I just want to introduce myself. My name is, Camile Periat. I'm the one that just won the USAs, and I'm like really excited to be competing with you tomorrow. And they had no idea who I was. They're like, oh, okay, nice to meet you. And I was kind of like, that's weird.
Weird, yeah.
And then I got last call outs the next morning, and it was like, all right, now you're playing with the big girls.
Which for those people that aren't familiar, that's not atypical. Right? That's part of the sport.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, you're going to take your licks and cut your teeth, like you said.
Yeah.
Kind of putting your time in one way or another. But getting last call out on your first show is pretty typical.
Yeah.
And the reasons are judges want to see you. They want to, are you committed? First off, do you stack up? But they want to see you out there, and they want to see the improvements that you're making. And
I was small. Looking back at the pictures, I was just like, oh, God.
Posing's not there yet anyway.
Oh, God, no.
You're not there. And, maybe the confidence is showing, or the lack of self-confidence at that point in the bigger arena isn't showing through. And they can smell it on you, right? So.
Absolutely. They can sense it like that.
So how do you recover from that? What happens next?
I just keep going. I still love it. And I competed, I competed for about 2 to 3 years of, rocking the like last to second last call outs. I still did it. I loved it.
Right.
At this point, I was also starting to coach people. So for me, it was like, you know what? I compete. I get more clients. I have fun doing it. And I was traveling all around the country competing and like just getting, my butt like handed to me.
But you're learning every single time.
I'm learning every single time. And then I started to actually go into master's classes, which is 35 plus, because like, maybe I'll have better luck in the master's classes. And it took about 2 to 3 years of that to actually crack first call out. And I got first call out in Florida, and that I had a new coach at that time, and I was just like, I just want to be in the first call out. I don't winning or even top 3 was even a goal of mine. That I was just like, I just want to be in the first call out. And so that was like my first taste of that. And then after that, I was in the first call out, I think most of the time after that. And then I started to second place, and I rocked second place for a long time. And then it was just like, boom, 1. And then I got 6 wins under my belt after
so
that.
It takes you 2 to 3 years to start to finally...
Even cracking top first call out.
It's a long time.
It is. And most people would be just like, you know what, this isn't for me. I'm done. But there was so many other opportunities that I was getting out of it that I was okay with it. I still had a lot of fun. I loved the process. I loved the structure. The structure is what I really, really enjoyed. I liked having a goal to have in the gym, and I love the whole process of it. So the competing part of it was like show day was like, okay, this is like part of what I like, but I liked just being involved, and there was a lot of opportunities that came my way because of it. I met my husband Chris that way. Right.
So we gotta get to that. At what point do we move from dental hygiene? To fitness. Now you mentioned coaching there. Are you doing them both at the same time? And at what point do you give one up?
Yeah. So that was a lot. So I did dental hygiene. I was a dental hygienist for about 9 years. Okay. I did dental hygiene and coaching together for probably about 5 years total.
Wow.
So I had a lot of athletes. I coached athletes all over the world.
How many are we talking?
at a time revolving consistently, 40 to 60.
Yeah, that's a ton of clients.
Yeah.
Right. That is a lot of work.
With a daughter.
And
I was working as a hygienist 4 days a week, and I was very responsive to my clients. My dentist probably was just always so annoyed with me because like every time he walked by me, if I had any second down, I'd be like,
checking in. Yeah.
I said 4 ounces.
4 ounces of protein, not 4.2.
So it was a good amount of time that I was managing both. Towards the beginning of my coaching career and at the beginning of my competing career, I met Chris
right.
at a show. My ex-husband and I had already separated, and I had met Chris, and he was funny, and he was Chris.
He's a nutball.
Yeah. And he will say we met before at a different time prior to that, and we did, but I was like just about to go on stage, and I was like, I think in a mood. I didn't place the way I wanted to, and he, I think, had just gone off of a win, and he said I was kind of a...
So it was way more memorable for Chris than it was for you at that point.
Yeah, but I think at that time I was there was a lot going on in my life, and I didn't remember that encounter. I don't think I was the nicest. I was just kind of like shut off. But I met him again at a show while I was coaching my athletes, and I met him in a hotel room, not a hotel room,
Whoa.
in the gym downstairs at a hotel. I was doing my cardio in the morning.
Got it.
And he was working out with one of his friends, and he told his friend to take off, and I look over, and Chris is doing his like calisthenics. I thought he was doing karate. So actually, still in my phone, his name is Chris, IFBB Karate S'mores, because that day he also offered me these s'mores bars. That's how I put his name in. He's still that way in my phone. So we met then. We kind of talked again later that day at the show. We exchanged numbers. His family lived in Santa Cruz, which is where I lived, and I was like still like on the road competing for the next couple weeks, and so I was we didn't really connect until like maybe 3 to 4 weeks later, and we met for dinner, and we just like clicked.
The rest is history.
Yep.
Inside that history, you guys have made history. When does so Santa Cruz Power Fitness?
Where's that?
Yeah, it is absolutely my favorite gym away from home. Yeah, it's got an amazing feel to it. What it reminds me most of is when I started my career as a trainer, and when athletics was over for me as a college student, there was a place that I trained, and could have been identical to a certain extent. You cannot replicate Santa Cruz Power Fitness. You just can't.
You can't replicate those types of gyms.
You can't. There's a feel, there's an aura, there's everything about it when you step into it. You just know it's different. And so for me, I guess it's a little nostalgic when I walk in, but it also just there's a certain attitude. They're
serious.
They're serious, but but serious in the best kind of way. Like I'm here to do my thing, and you're here to do your thing, and I respect that.
It's a strong community feeling, and it just rubs off on everybody that way. It's like you won't really necessarily feel motivated to work out, and then you walk in there and you're just like, all right, like people are in here like seriously like getting their like their work on, and I'm gonna be pushing myself harder because there's a 6-year-old woman over there deadlifting
right.
Like 300 pounds. It's like, okay, gotta step it up.
Yeah, it's different. And I think, if you haven't been into an environment like that, you need to make a trip. So if you're ever in Santa Cruz, you got to go by and check out Power and what they got going on for all the reasons that it's awesome. It's one of my favorite spots ever.
Thank you.
So you and Chris partner up. professionally you're coaching together,
yes,
athletes together, and then ultimately, and then I know there's a nutrition business that's happening there along the way, a supplement business that's happening that's located in prior to you guys taking ownership.
Yeah. So let me backtrack a little bit because this is when it starts to kind of snowball. So Chris and I start to, we start to date and we're attached at the hip. We start to coach Team Pulse together, which was like my little tiny team. And then we kind of like morphed it into men, women, and, made it more streamlined. So that was Team Pulse. And that kind of just started to escalate and grow. And we were, building a pretty big business with just that alone, which then opened up the door to rent a little space inside of Santa Cruz Power Fitness with the previous owners, Almena. He rented out an area in his gym so we can open up Santa Cruz Sports Nutrition and offer sports supplementation in our community that was not just these big chains. And that was great. And then I think around that point is when I stopped doing dental hygiene. It was just like too much. We had businesses we needed to manage, and I phased out of dental hygiene and I just went full force into our businesses.
Right. So you're a mom, you're a competitive athlete, you're an employee at a dentist's office, you're coaching 40 to 60 or more clients at this point. It's starting to grow. Now we have a nutrition business that we have. Yeah, something has to give.
Yeah.
And so it's dental hygiene at this point. You're going all in. You're going all in with coaching and nutrition.
Right. I mean, look at the numbers. It was like, okay, this one is the one that needs to, go away right now. And that it was kind of hard because I did it for a long time, and I still sometimes miss it. I keep my license still active, but. So we started the nutrition shop, and then that was also kind of like our test with Al Mena, who owned Santa Cruz Power Fitness, to see if we would be suitable for future owners. Because it was a conversation that we've had with him, asking him if he would be interested in selling. Meanwhile, Chris and I have absolutely zero experience with owning a gym, but we just that was our goal. It was our goal, and we did really well at Santa Cruz Sports Nutrition, and it was kind of our way to kind of introduce ourselves to that community. It's a very loyal community, and eventually Al decided that he wanted to sell it to us, and that's how we acquired Santa Cruz Power Fitness.
I bet if you talk to most people that are fitness or gym enthusiasts, certainly people that have competed and have gotten out of the sport or given back to the sport, they'd all tell you, hey, owning a gym one day sounds like that's what I want to do.
Totally.
I can't.
It's all of our goals. Yeah,
it's everybody's goal. I mean, any new blossoming personal trainer, group exercise instructor or somebody like that, they all, what do you want to do eventually? What's the long-term goal? Well, hopefully, one of these days I want to own a gym like you. And you're just looking at them going, are you sure? It could be because people have zero clue or zero idea what that means. And so you've been around in the gym you're about to take ownership of, and you just mentioned you've sort of built a community within the community, which is a way different way. Not saying it's any easier or any harder, but it's a way different way than a lot of people get into it that may come into some money and go, hey, this seems like a good idea. Let me open a gym. And they drop down a bunch of dough and they open a gym. But you came at it at a little bit of a different angle. Talk about that transition into that and how it worked out.
So Santa Cruz Power Fitness already had just an awesome vibe, and it had a really it has a history within the bodybuilding community. It used to be an old Gold's gym. It's one of those old school hardcore gyms that are rare. So the members that train there, they're loyal, and it's a big membership base.
It's a little bit of a double-edged sword sometimes, huh?
It can be, yeah. And at first, there was some throwback when Chris and I purchased the gym. There was a lot of people who just did not, people are afraid of change. The gym did not have, many updates for a long, long time, so it was pretty outdated.
Common tale.
Yeah. So Chris and I went in there, and I credit our success to Chris because he's so good at business and the back side of it, or the back end. He really is amazing at that. And so you're absolutely right. A lot of people in the fitness industry say they want to get into, be a gym owner. And I even said that when I was in my 20s. I was like, one day I want to open a gym. I'm going to have like a live DJ at night and like all these like...
It's all the fun stuff.
Totally. But it's so much work running a gym, especially during COVID. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It tests you. And
to say the least.
But Chris is an amazing businessman, and he has a vision. He has made so many. He's really turned it around into a very just strong business. And our goal from when we first got it was like to improve it, to bring in new equipment. We are very involved with the fitness community, and we travel around a lot, so we get to see these different facilities and different brands, and we have an eye for like what we want to bring in. And I think our community at first, they were a little reluctant to have any change because it's like that one favorite bicep curl machine from like 1970 is gone. Where is it? That's what we were dealing with.
Yeah, versus the new $4,500 piece of equipment you just put in its place that's 10 times better, but it's just not the same.
So once they started to see what we were doing, they all, for the most part, everyone, almost everybody is just like, absolutely loves the changes. But it's been, it's challenging being a gym owner. It's constant, but it's rewarding.
So you take over this gym that you think you kind of know, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, in any of these acquisitions, and I've been a part of many, many acquisitions.
Yeah.
And you get one, you start, there's things that happen. There's evaluation that happens, and you start looking at numbers and P&Ls and all kinds of things. So you get all this information, and you make an offer happens, and a counter offer happens, and ultimately a deal is done.
Yeah.
And then the real numbers start to pop up.
How do you know?
Yeah, exactly. So you start finding out real fast what the reality is from a financial perspective. What's the first big shock you get as a new gym owner?
Oh, God. All I can think about is just all I can picturing right now is just Chris's face with his glasses on, just trying to understand everything and just being like, oh my God.
Wait, it says we have this many members, but how many members do we have really?
Yeah, and just, not memberships not being, being inactive. And there was one manager that did everything. He did everything. And he wouldn't let any other... He did everything. And so it was really hard to understand like his method that he ran by.
Because everybody has a method.
It was like just papers kind of in the drawer. He knew what was going on, but he controlled it all. And so it was for us, it was like getting computers, the computer system, like up to date with memberships and understanding like, who's active and who's, there was a lot. It probably took like, I remember the day one of Chris and I owning the gym, we spent all day in the office, just like learning. We did that for like a whole month, but our first day, we like left after like 10 hours and we went to the bar.
Yeah, it's time for a drink.
Yeah, we got a drink or two and we were just like, what did we do?
Right. Yeah. I mean, the realization of, wow, things were way simpler and way easier when we were just coaching and just running a nutrition store.
Yeah.
What have we done?
Well, a little bit also to add, during that time, so I talked about like what I did, but Chris was also in like, he had a full career on the side, which was in asset management. And so the timing, like things happen for a reason. And he, at that time, like literally the exact same time, he was laid off and he lost his job with this big company. And it was scary for us, but it was also like Chris was really just burnt out from the corporate world. And so this was like, everything happened for a reason. And so, I mean, had that not happened, it would like, it was a perfect sequence of events, which allowed, because it needed all of our attention.
All the attention right now.
Yeah.
So this isn't a side job. This isn't a side hustle.
This is our life.
Yeah, right. It's at this point, you don't have another job.
Nope.
There are no lifeboats.
Yeah.
Right. The lifeboats have been burned.
Yeah.
Or they went down with that other ship.
Yeah.
This is what I've got and this is what I have to work with. So you're all in, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Kind of at that point. A lot of change happens. People stay on, people leave. How long does it take for you to kind of feel like you got your arms wrapped around it? And the gym is doing what you wanted it to do in the way that you wanted it to happen?
That took, I would say it took about a couple years for us to really just feel like, like we can breathe. And, of course there's, along with, some of the members that didn't like change. We had staff that didn't like change, and they were afraid. So it took a while to find, we have still, the majority of our team is the original team. But it took a while to find just the right team members to help, help and support and create a system that we all work together versus one person doing everything by themselves, because that something happens to that person.
Yeah. There's
no way to know how to operate. So, we have an amazing team now, and it really took a while to build that. And also, during that time, we were having to build out the whole infrastructure.
Yeah, things evolve. They have to. Yeah, and you're designing everything from scratch. It's not like you're subscribing to some cookie cutter, operating system to help Santa Cruz Power Fitness run. There's not another gym like that. Each one is individual, but this one is individual. So it's not like you can go, hey, what's Joe Blow business or fitness gym or facility owner over there doing. Let's do what he's doing or she's doing. No way. You've got to figure this thing out from every single detail.
Absolutely. So it took a while, it took a while to really like get our groove, but now we really, there was a long time where we just, if you are wanting to get into the gym business and own a gym, be prepared to work every day, 10 to 16 hours a day. You might be opening, you're closing, you're cleaning toilets, you're doing all that stuff. That is the true life of a small gym owner.
Right. It's all day, every day. It's 365.
Yeah.
24 hours a day.
But the beautiful thing is that now we have such a great team, and we have a great manager, fitness manager, with great personal trainers, front desk. They're all incredible, but it allows us to kind of step away a little bit and work on more of the back end stuff versus just like in the now.
Right.
This is,
Right. So it's how do we anticipate? What do we see coming? Where does this,
growth.
Rather than having to react, you're being proactive and setting people up for success. And that includes your staff who now have some ownership in, well, I know how to deal with this now. This is not, because they've been prepared and they've had experience.
And it makes us more enjoyable to be around too.
Yeah, I'm sure. I get it.
Yeah.
When you're not having to deal with every little customer service, issue, not that, because that's 90% of the job. That's the business that you walked yourself into.
Right.
Was customer service. But, the operations end of things, you can't be doing the day-to-day every day and expect to get better.
No, you'll get burnt out. So having the right team allows you to be a better business owner.
Right. So let's walk into 2020, you're just getting this thing going.
Yeah.
It's starting to feel like, okay, we've got a little bit of breathing room. We've got a team. We've done it.
Yeah.
Now let's enjoy what we've done. We're not taking our eye off the ball.
Oh, you're talking to 2020.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, 2020, not 2000. Yeah.
Same thing.
So 2020. Yeah, I think my math's right on that. So COVID hits, and at this point, you and I and Chris, we know one another pretty well. And so the phone's going back and forth pretty frequently at this point. So I'm sort of aware, and you're very aware of kind of what happened at Red Dot, is I'm aware of what's going on up at Santa Cruz, but they're a little bit different business models. So what do? You know, how's it? You just like, you kind of arrived and now you're staring down the barrel of, well, we're going to be closed for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Right?
So I think like most business owners, March 2020, we were all looking at probably our most profitable point and looking forward to growth. We were looking at other locations. We were doing awesome, and we were, projected to have an even stronger year ahead of us. And then we got shut down. But right before we got shut down, we kind of got a taste for what was coming down the pipes, because I had competed in the Arnold's 2020, and it was like the week before. It was like 3 days before. It was like, we might not be holding this show.
Right.
They did, but
and you went,
and we went. I competed there in Columbus, Ohio. But that was that was like a week before we got shut down over here. And we kind of saw what was like, okay, this is serious. This is,
Yeah, we're all just kind of figuring
governors are involved. This is getting serious. And so then we came back and we were kind of just doing like everybody, signs that wash your hands, hand sanitizer,
right. Wear a mask.
Thinking, well, I wasn't.
Yeah, we weren't even wearing masks.
It wasn't even masks at that point. It was just like,
You're right.
we're being responsible. Use hand sanitizer, wash your hands, and then it was just like boom, shut down. And I remember Chris and I were just like, well, before that, the thought of you or any business closing for one day or an afternoon was just like,
it's crazy business.
Crazy. That does not even compute. And so then being told that you have to shut down, it was just like, part of it's like, it's out of my hands, out of my control. But we were freaking out. We were freaking out. And then when we were told that it could possibly go to like May or June, we were just like, no way.
Right.
Like, absolutely not. And it did. It went a long time. In fact, we're still in that. The hardest part, though, which is what is trying to pivot as much as we've had to do. We did the Zoom thing, the online classes, really just trying to still stay relevant. You don't want your members to all just cancel, because you want to survive. And you want to be able to provide a service that is there for them when they get back. And it's your livelihood, you have staff members that depend on you also. So trying to do as much as we could, pivoting during these times, offering services so that we're still, there for them. We did that. It's very stressful. I don't think people really understand the hardship that small business owners have to go through that have had to close down. I think a lot of people just they don't understand the magnitude of it, but it was really scary, really stressful. It was probably the most stressful time of our lives. We thought we were going to lose everything, our home, our business, everything. And, Chris and you were talking on the phone, and thank God during that time that we had friends like you that were in the same industry that we can talk to. But it was scary, and I think any business during the pandemic that didn't talk to other fellow competitors to help work together, like, they did themselves a big disservice.
Yeah, it's crazy to think it's been nearly a year. I mean, we're almost coming up on the year mark, and I'm listening to you, and it
makes you relive it.
It was terrifying,
yeah.
And it was devastating, and it was depressing, and it was so many things. And I've had so many experiences in business, particularly in the fitness business in my life, and even with the current business and in previous businesses. Nothing could have obviously prepared us for this, and there's no playbook, and there's no rule book either, and everybody's kind of just looking for some kind of answer as well as some kind of hope. the interesting thing is until I heard you kind of talking about it there, I hadn't really thought about it much, kind of where the emotional state was there. But I can relate to being competitive and, in business and in life and in sport. And I do remember looking back going as pissed off as I was, or as angry as I got, or as depressed as I got, I was always in the mind frame of this is not going to beat us. We're going to be okay. Yeah. And the thing that kept me in it and Cece in it here was, first off, our employees, and the things that they had to go through and the things that we knew we needed to do to help them along the way. Yeah. But I really hadn't thought about it much, in that sense. You just kind of all of a sudden, I don't know at what point, I really don't know, but you kind of go into a different kind of mindset, and where it's like, well, we have to see this thing through, and you can't plan 3 months in advance. You can maybe plan 3 weeks in advance, and you have to kind of be
and that's even questionable.
But here's the thing with particularly, if you're a gym owner in California, it's a little bit different maybe than if you're a gym owner someplace else. I'm not saying it's worse or better. I'm just saying it's different. We currently, as we're recording this, we're the only business that's not officially open yet. Everybody else is open and doing things at some level. We're fortunate. Both of us are fortunate that we have outside space that we've been able to kind of keep going and keep our businesses alive. But that wasn't all in 2020. I mean, as if things couldn't get any worse, they kind of did. And I want to talk about the fires that happened up near, in Santa Cruz, and how that impacted your business, your members, your employees, you. It was a crazy time, August, right? I mean, August, basically the world's coming to an end up in Santa Cruz. It was an insane fire season. It got completely out of control. Yeah. I mean, and again, we're kind of chuckling about it now, but I remember thinking
there was so many crazy things.
Calling up, going, "Oh my God, Chris, are you guys okay?" Because it was that close. I mean, it wasn't into downtown, but it was close enough, right?
Yeah. So the fire, that was, So before the fires, you had just mentioned that we were both operating outdoor gyms. So yes, we were operating outdoor gyms, and we had these big tents and everything. And the fires happened because there was this crazy freak lightning storm that hit the Bay Area.
Never happens.
It was incredible.
Right.
It was absolutely incredible to watch. Not when you're outside taking down these 10-foot metal poles in a lightning storm because your tent's about to hit the apartment building next.
At 2 or 3
At 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
That was Chris and I. Little did we know that those lightning storms that we were battling with the tents was going to start these fires in Santa Cruz Mountains and actually all throughout California. I mean, there was I don't even know how many fires there were at that one time, but there was a lot.
Yeah, there were hundreds.
Right. And the fire got really close to, affected a huge part of Santa Cruz. We had evacuees living at our house for a couple weeks. And the air was so smoky here in Santa Clara and Santa Cruz. The air was so bad. I mean, it went, it's crazy how when you operate outside, how much you depend on the weather and your weather app.
Right.
There was that time we were having to, if the air quality was below a certain number, we would have to close it. There was one day, and you probably remember that day, that it was 2:00 in the afternoon, and the sky was so dark. You had to use your lights. I had to use my flashlight on my phone to take the dogs out to go to the bathroom at 3 in the afternoon.
It's crazy.
Absolutely crazy.
Ash landing on everything.
Ash everywhere. So that was August. That was kind of crazy. I forgot about that. Actually, I was going through my pictures on my phone this morning, and I was just like, all these dark, murky photos. Yeah. I remember that week.
That happened
month.
too. Yeah, that happened. That was just part of it. Right? Yeah. So, and you're right. We had just started operating outside, so there was a spend, right? There was expense, capital expenditure. If I want to operate outside, I don't just open up outside. You're putting out canopies, you're putting out tents, you're moving equipment, you're having to maybe purchase things to make that even possible. Yeah. You're having to fence in your equipment so that it doesn't walk away after the lights go out at night and so forth. So there's a lot of things happening, and you've got to get people to adjust to that. They've already had to adjust 8 times to all the changes that we've been going through, whether we're open, close. And Santa Cruz had a bit more of that. You guys were open quite a bit more than we were down here in Santa Clara County.
Yeah, we were able to open up much earlier than you guys were. I think you guys had 2 weeks where you were able to really open up again.
Well, there was actually more like 3 hours that we were able to open up. They made an announcement at 9 and another one at noon.
Just a taste.
Yeah. That was very short term. But then back in September, October, we were open for about 2 months. But outside of that time, we'd been closed. But the point of that is there, you had this great outside setup, and the weather came through and absolutely destroyed it. Couple times. And then, you get that going again, and then you recognize, okay, well, we know this isn't going to hold up against the next big one that comes through, and inevitably the winter's coming, right? And you're going to get some rain and some wind, so you try to set up a little bit heavier duty, and you get destroyed again. And it's just this constant rebuild.
We've had to take down, rebuild our outdoor gym 5 times. And this was not like once it was.
This is 4,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Right? This is not a small outdoor gym.
Tons of equipment out there, right. Cardio machines, and only one of those 4 or 5 times was it planned. But every other time it was Chris and I waking up in the middle of the night from our surveillance cameras going off with right. Holy crap. Right. Our tents are
blowing down the street.
I called the fire station one point because this are steel frame, and these are 60 by 40 tents, was coming out of the cement and about to slam into this huge apartment building right next to us. Oh, man. It was hairy. So yeah, but after all of that, mm-hmm. and you mentioned the members, having to adjust to change and pivoting and that, but it's made everybody so patient, and we could probably paint our gym bright pink inside and have totally change it, and they would just be grateful to be there. It's changed everyone, everybody as a whole, I think, just appreciate things for what they are and in a different way than before COVID.
And I think that has largely to do with you and Chris and the efforts that you put in, and the investment in the community, the equipment, the space. I think they're seeing things in a different light. If there was hesitation before about change, they understand everything that you're doing and the intention that you're doing it in, and that's why they're sticking around, and that's why they continue to come back, and that's why they're going to be continuing to come back, in 2021, 2022, and beyond. So you did the work. You've done all that hard work. And it's interesting that you're saying, people are just that much more appreciative. And it's interesting. And when I've been up there and kind of talking with some of your coaches or even a couple of members, it seems they're taking care of themselves in a little bit of a different way too. Mm-hmm. They're more aware of, what's important and what isn't.
Oh yeah.
And I want to talk about that just a little bit as we're moving on and into the future, and telling the future was impossible before, but it seems anymore if there was anything to kind of measure it, all that shit's out the door. You really just kind of got to go, well, we think this is going to happen, and we're going to try to prepare.
And we'll see.
If we're going to prepare for anything.
Well, now we're hopefully we'll be open by May.
Right. Yeah.
And before it was 3 weeks.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You just have a little bit of a different perspective, right? And it's a very different perspective, and just people in general and taking care of themselves now versus and the impacts this has had, and where this goes longer term. The perspective and or the awareness that they have about what they should and shouldn't be doing, or how they need to change or shift in order to be a healthier version of themselves rather than maybe achieve a specific physique.
Yeah.
What are you seeing? How are your members? How is your community adapting and changing for, to prepare for the future and being a healthier, I'm just going to say it right out, to be part of the solution and not be part of the problem, that we seem to be plagued with here, particularly in the United States?
Well, the members that we are seeing back, they are, first of all, we have the community that we have that comes to our gym. They're very serious fitness people. This is a big chunk of their life. This is a priority in their life. So, we have a lot of very serious fitness goers, but people just really are hungry for getting back in shape. They see that maybe maybe some people also realize that was really scary going through COVID, and I'm obese. And I was afraid for my life because of that condition. And that's not okay. Like, I need to change that. Or a lot of people we saw, which was absolutely mind-blowing, was that there would be there one member in particular that stands out. He was in his 80s. And when we opened back up in June for a couple months, we saw him come back. And after taking just those 3 months off of the gym, before he would be in every morning, walking in, no problem. But taking 3 months off, he could barely walk in. And that's how much not exercising regularly impacted his health and his aging process. And we didn't really see him much. Like, he had a really hard time walking around. And he said it's because he was not able to lift weights, and his body started to really deteriorate. Yeah,
this is something that isn't being talked about. I mean, we can talk about the youth. We can talk about anything from 8 to 80 and the lack of activity.
Yeah.
And we don't dig too deep into that, but I think that's a more common tale than people want to think about or realize right now. Because unless it's impacting you, and you went back to or you were talking earlier about being the business owner and a small business owner, particularly here in California, and kind of how things have been handled. And if you're not in that situation, you really can't know. And I don't blame you for not knowing.
Totally.
There's a lot of things I'm not aware of because I haven't lived through it. And your situation is different than mine, and I can't pretend to know what it's like. But I do have a pretty good perspective on kind of how how not allowing people or providing people the opportunity to take care of their health and fitness in the same way, and simply dismissing it with, oh, just get outside. You can go outside, you can go for a hike, you can go for a walk.
Right.
Well, yes, that's great. And that will provide some people some sense of exercise and the kind that they need in order to become healthy or stay healthy. But that's not everybody. And that's not everybody's situation. Most people need resistance training, right?
Yeah.
We know that, and they're not going to get that at home. And you're not going to get that with a couple of rubber bands and a couple of 5-pound dumbbells that you might have, found buried in your garage in some milk crate somewhere.
And the crazy thing is that, we know that, but I've never actually seen the side effects of someone not being able to, not because they were on a vacation, but right. they were not allowed to, and taking so much time off, and the physical effects that it actually had on them, and deterioration so rapidly. That was just it was actually very mind blowing to see someone physically through that. Sure, when we think about going to the gym, it's, people usually think of aesthetics, mm-hmm. but it really, there's so many other benefits to it. And so I guess to circle back to your question about, the overall health changes and concerns and benefits of, coming out of COVID and moving forward, is that there's a lot of people that are really excited and hungry to get back on that track, to make serious changes in their life, because they're realizing that there's things that they're not happy about. Mm-hmm. But there's still a lot of people who are fearful until the vaccine is readily available or they receive that. So I'm expecting, we have our people that are utilizing our outdoor gym now that are, comfortable with that setting. But I think it's going to slowly get back, and I'm hoping that there will be a change in our society. Maybe that's very hopeful and wishful thinking about, making serious changes. But I think it was an eye-opener for a lot of people who were unhealthy during COVID, that they were at a very high risk.
How do you prepare at Santa Cruz Power, that you guys have coaches? There's a lot of coaches there. You got an amazing team of coaches up there. How are they adapting? How are they changing to the needs of members, and particularly during this time, and preparing for the future of what will likely start to walk back through the door at some point?
Soon.
Right. Yeah.
Our trainers have been really busy, actually. And that's a great sign that people are wanting to get back. Either whether they have gained the quarantine 15 or 20
or whatever,
they're wanting to get back, and they need help building their strength back up. Some people might just like, I want to get healthy again and I need a personal trainer. Many different reasons. So our trainers have been very busy, and obstacles that they've been working around and have pivoted and adjusted very, very well is, some people are very, do not want to be around anyone close by. People still respect the 6 feet, but some people are very like, I don't want to be anywhere near. So maybe they'll have to block off 2 squat racks so they have a good perimeter around that person. Masks, disinfectant bottles, all of that kind of stuff. But a lot of the trainers are also working on building strength back up, because after taking 3 months off the gym, you can't just go back to what you were lifting before. You're going to injure yourself. So, they're helping people kind of build back that strength.
Yeah. So you got people coming in and they're investing in their health.
Yeah.
Right? They may not have done that before. People that have never worked with a coach before, maybe even not been a member of a gym like Santa Cruz Power before. They're walking in and they're investing their time and money into coaches. And coaches are taking advantage of that. What advice would you give other coaches out there, other gym owners right now, with regard to how to be successful in the future, despite all that's happened? And the changes they might want to think about making if they haven't already to really be part of the solution in the future to help people feel more comfortable coming back to the gym, to help people feel more comfortable and more confident about making an investment in their health outside of their health insurance plan, or so forth. What would you tell people?
Well, I would give different advice for coaches and trainers and gym owners, but the most important things I would suggest is build an alliance with other similar businesses to yours in your area. Communicate with each other, see what other people are doing, and see, talk to the other gyms. We do that. I like checking out other setups and telling them to come check out yours, and cross collaboration, kind of like how we do with you. So networking is really important, and communicating with your members is huge. So, utilizing email, social media posts, ways to communicate with your clients and new members to offer, announce the services or the safety precautions that you're taking at your gym. Those are really, really important. And I think any business that was not communicating regularly with their customers, we're missing out, because that also helped reassure that we are still there for you, and this is what we are trying to offer to you, and we are, going to be here when you come back. Right.
At first, it felt like crisis management emails all the time. Right?
I know.
It's like, here's what's going on. But in the end, everybody gets it now.
Yeah.
They're not confused. They might be confused about what the latest mandate is and what that means for them.
Yeah.
But they're not about where you're coming from as a business.
Yeah.
The networking, why our community in the fitness industry would place things so close to the chest at this point in the game makes zero sense to me. There's so much wealth out there of knowledge and wisdom. There's also, there's plenty of pie out there for us all to share.
That's just it. There's, having competition is not a bad thing. It keeps everybody on their A game. It improves services, and it helps having someone to talk to and, run ideas by. It makes you better. Right. So having that alliance is really important. And we did create that with a few other small gyms in Santa Cruz, and it was very helpful because that was a scary time for all of us. Mm-hmm. And just being flexible. Now we are so flexible, like you guys. I think everyone after COVID is like very patient, very flexible. Like you just roll with like, what's today going to bring? Okay.
Right. As if you're not, you're probably gone. You probably didn't survive to this point.
Exactly.
You're probably gone.
Yeah.
So you heard it here. Like if you're in the Santa Cruz area and you want to lean on Santa Cruz Power a little bit for some ideas and some love, they're there for you.
Absolutely.
Couple more questions and we'll wrap it up. But so, in circling all the way back to the competitive, bikini game Are we done? We're gonna keep going, or what are we doing?
I'm done. So I'm God, I forgot how old I am. Oh my God.
Sound like me. I know exactly
how I am. 42.
I pretend.
It's really
sad. Pretend to not know anymore.
Yeah, you get past a certain age. Maybe it's like part of you. You're like, I don't want to know really how old I am. But
it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter. But no, I think so. Last year at the Olympia, at 2020, not 2019.
Right.
See, this whole year's been a time
there was
warp.
the night. So if I remember right, you competed in the 19. You were gunning in the 20, and things just got a little
then it got pushed out.
Yeah.
Right. So before 2019, we had decided like this is gonna be the last one. And then Chris told me before the 2019, he's like, if you want to try to qualify for 2020, you can do the Sacramento show. That would be like your last shot to qualify. So I was like, all right. So I did it and I won.
And you won.
I was like, okay, looks like we're doing one more year.
Yeah.
So I did the 2019 was my last Olympia, and then I did the Arnold's in March, like I was just saying, right before the whole COVID just like kaboomed on us. And I was prepping for the 2020 Olympia. That was, a totally different, another story, competing and prepping during COVID, doing band workouts and just like, ugh, what is that?
Yeah, crazy.
But I was 3 weeks out, and they had moved the Olympia to Florida at December. And Chris, 3 weeks before, was just like, I just don't feel comfortable flying out to Florida with, all the numbers going up. And he has some health history that we were concerned about. And it was just like, all right, that's it. And it felt good a little bit. It felt good. And I don't have no regrets.
It's good.
It feels right. And I always knew that
there was going to be a time.
When that time came, it was going to feel right. Because in the past, I was just like, the thought of me not competing was like scary. And I was just like, I loved it so much, but I'm ready for just to enjoy life and not have to feel the pressure of eating a certain way, working out a certain way. Now Chris and I are going on like distance runs outside, which is like the complete opposite of what you want to do if you're trying to build muscle.
Right.
So, but I don't care. I'm just having fun.
It's not front of brain.
Yeah.
Are you done with the sport altogether, or are you going to try and stay involved somehow?
I'm not done. I still want to be involved because I absolutely love it. I'm not coaching anymore. That's just something I don't have the bandwidth for, to run that kind of roster and that much attention when we're running, these other businesses. But I do want to get involved with judging. And I've already reached out to a couple of the head judges in the league. And the next step is just me observing and starting there and learning. But that's kind of where I've always, since I've started competing, I was just like, someday it'd be really cool to evolve to that. And I think the sport needs more female judges.
I agree 1,000%.
We need that. And I would love to go down that road and still be involved.
It's interesting. The female bodybuilding side of things is still male dominated.
It totally is.
And it's time for a shift. And I'm sure you have so many fans. I'm sure they're going to be glad. Well, they might be a little bittersweet to know that you're not coming back as a competitor. I bet they're going to be super happy to know that you're still involved and giving back.
Yeah. The few people I have talked to about that are athletes, like their reaction was just like really excited. Of course, they're not going to be telling me to my face like, oh God.
Right.
But I'm excited for that. And that's the next chapter of my life. Chris and I want to travel, and we want to do fun things and enjoy life. And he's been very, very patient and supportive while I have thrived in my competitive career, and it's opened up a ton of doors for us. Like, I really attribute where we're at now with our businesses to the fact that myself and Chris is also a professional bodybuilder himself. So
right.
he's in the sport. We didn't talk about that, but he's also involved with the sport, and I really attribute our career in the fitness industry that we, to our success. And when I talk to athletes, and if I can give athletes any kind of advice, it's just, don't focus so much on the placing and the critique and the feedback, but it opens up so many doors and so many opportunities, and you don't even know what opportunities are coming your way. And that's really what we've received out of it, and that's why I was so want to be involved.
Yeah, I think it's great, and we'll have to get Chris in here someday, and would love to have you back sometime. Maybe we can talk more specifically about
with a glass of whiskey.
Yeah, definitely next time. The whiskey's coming out next time. To talk more about the sport and the advice and the wisdom that you can provide for the up and coming competitor and even the more advanced competitors out there. And as you learn and evolve as a judge, I would definitely like to dig into that more. I have so many questions, but I want to thank you for coming down today again and spending time with me. This has been awesome.
Thank you. And your studio is super cool.
Oh, good.
I love it. It's like. I think I like this better than Joe Rogan's new weird red things on his wall.
Whoa. Okay. Well, I'll take that as a massive compliment. Joe Rogan's he's one of the best. So thank you so much for the compliment. And again, you're going to be great as a judge, and Santa Cruz Power is just an extension of you, and it's no surprise how successful it's been, and I know how successful it will continue to be. Listen, for people that want to, find out more about you and learn a little bit more about you and follow your journey, where can they find you?
Well, you can find, I have an Instagram handle. It's Camile _. Oh no, I'm sorry. Just Camile Periat.
Okay.
I have a Facebook, but I never checked that, so it's probably not a good place to go to. I have a website. The best way to find me is SantaCruzPowerFitness.com.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the best place to find me.
And what about the podcast?
Oh, I do have a podcast with my friend Sarah Lyon. It's called The Bikini Show.
Right.
And we're just two girls that chat bikini and have these really cool bikini pros come on, and we interview them. And we do funny stuff. But you can find us on YouTube, and it's called The Bikini Show, and it's a lot of fun.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Camille.
Thank you, Scott. This was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Iron Sights. If you enjoyed our conversation, you can support our mission by hitting the subscribe button, leaving a review, and sharing the podcast with a friend. I'll see you on the next episode.